Katrina, let's jump right in because I don't want to waste a minute of this. And I know what you have to share is going to be so powerful for so many people. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to be here, Lena. Thanks for having me.
We are going to do a deep dive into self-care practices and why we both believe they are absolutely non-negotiable and not something that we should indulge or just claim for ourselves every now and then, but something that really needs to become a way of being and a daily practice, right? You're on the same wavelength.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Has there been a time in your life where you haven't prioritized self-care and that's why now you're passionate about championing this?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've been in the health and fitness industry for a long time, over 20 years in personal training and massage and cranial sacral therapy. And over that time, for myself, like I used to be a yes person, do everything for everyone else. I would give up, my yoga time to squeeze a client in. And I guess I just got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just running me ragged. And why am I giving up my time, to serve other people? And I think it was just a realization that it was time to take responsibility for my own health and put myself first, and make myself a priority that I could actually take that time and be okay with it. Because, I'd take, I work from home. So, I have got flexibility with my times, but, sitting down in the middle of the day, it's like, I can't be doing this. I should be at least hanging the washing out or should be doing something else. And, the more then I got talking to other people, I was like, wow, this is actually quite a common thing. I've got clients that just feel really guilty for sitting down and putting their feet up for 5 minutes during the day. And I kind of think, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we, if it's for our own health and well-being, that we can actually give ourselves that time, that we feel better for doing it, but yet we feel guilty. So I struggled with it for years, Lena, and I guess it's been a practice that I've really had to work on and change my mindset as that, no, I'm number one, and that if I look after me and I look after my health, then actually I'm going to be a lot better mother, wife, health care practitioner, because I actually are going to have more energy and I'm going to be more calm. I'm going to be more balanced in that. So yeah, it's been a learning for me. And then from there, it's kind of just progressed into, my work is just gone down this realization that this is something that I feel women really need to hear and need support with. So I guess that's kind of where I've landed in this whole self-care and helping people. Yeah.
We were just speaking before we jumped on to record, and we were saying like we each are really passionate about just being a permission slip for other women to prioritize themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something very reassuring when we verbalize that and people hear it, that I struggle with it. It's not something that I've just woken up and going, well, I've got it all sorted. Some days I don't get it right. Some days I kind of get to the end of the day and think, gosh, I haven't had taken that time for myself. But I have some action plans around that now. Like, so if I get to the end of the day, I call it my plan B. And I think, we all can get busy, and, life can get busy, but it's actually doable. It's actually, it doesn't have to be sitting down and meditating for an hour. It can be just stopping and taking 10 deep present breaths and checking in on yourself. And as much as that sounds like a tiny thing to do, if it's done regularly, I feel that it really brings a whole new awareness to and connection. So a connection on who we are, how we're feeling, and it allows our nervous systems to help to self-regulate as well. So, this whole thing, like I struggle with meditation for years. I think I've got to meditate because, that's so good for me. And I tried, and then I realized that for me, I love nature. Nature just is my vibe, and I could go for a walk in nature, and that was kind of I call it active meditation, but hey, it worked for me. So why am I struggling with trying to sit down for half an hour when, you know, I can go for a walk in the bush or wherever and actually get my same effect for me. And I think that's the thing, we're all individuals, Lena, and we just need to find what works for us as an individual. Yeah.
I love that you've said that. So I have an almost 3-year-old, Tyson, and he goes to
Yeah.
daycare a few days a week. And I find on those days, I feel the cortisol and adrenaline just building in me because I want to be super productive in the 5 hours that I have to myself. And it's kind
Yeah.
of counterintuitive because I want to do so much, but then I get so overwhelmed that I end up, you know what it's like, you're trying to do 10 things at once and it's not always effective. And so only just recently in the last few weeks, I've been in the car after I drop him off at daycare, just sitting for 3 minutes and doing this
Nice.
left nostril breathing practice to just
Excellent.
bring it all down, because I think as mums or as people that have lots of responsibilities, we can all relate to having to kind of generate a lot of energy and momentum at the beginning of the day. Um,
Absolutely.
but we have to just kind of pull it back a little. Otherwise, it just gets ahead of us, I think.
Yeah, and I absolutely, like, you know, we try and squeeze so much in, and you know, I still find, like, you know, in the weekend I still found myself, I was like, I had all the stuff I want to do, and I have to stop and catch myself and think, okay, realistically, what can I do, and be okay with it as well, but actually still finding that time where you can just, like you said, sit in the car for 3 minutes. I mean, you know, when you're at the lights, waiting for the lights to change, just focus on some deep breaths. You know, like I said, it sounds small, but it's so rewarding and nurturing to our whole systems, really. And I guess a lot of my learnings comes from my cranial sacral. And if you don't know what cranial sacral is, it's a natural therapy, which I'm tuned in, listening with my hands to people's systems, and it's tuning into the body's own intelligence to heal. But through this work, it's made me realize that the deeper we listen, the quieter we listen, the more we can actually hear. So when you actually slow down and tune in to how you're feeling, you know, how's the left side of your body feeling to the right side of your body, what it does, it allows the nervous system to just slow down and drop. And what we tend to do in our busy lives is our nervous systems kind of go into this fight flight, but they don't really get a chance to reset themselves, and they kind of reset themselves, you know, a little bit lower, but that becomes our normal. So by, you know, just simple things, by deep breathing, it allows our nervous systems to really drop back down. And most of my clients that come in that have been on my the bed, the biggest thing they say, I haven't felt that relaxed for, I can't even remember. It's because we've just really deepened and regulated their system. So you imagine if you could just stop and do a little bit each day, how your nervous system will get that self-regulation, and it would allow you that when you do maybe do some meditation or whatever works for you, it allows your system to go even deeper. And when you experience it, it's quite a phenomenal feeling, really, because it's kind of like a Zen space. But we just don't allow ourselves the time to maybe do it. So this is what I really want to encourage people to do, is that you have got the time by making yourself a priority, and it only can be, you know, those 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes a day, which is realistic. I know it's realistic for the busiest person in the world.
As I'm listening to you, I'm wondering, and I'd love your insight on this, whether we've got it twisted a little bit when we think that our state of busy and productive and being all things and doing all things is normal, and that being at a state of ease and relaxation and presence is kind of like, it's not the normal, it's just something that we can visit and experience when we get time. Do you think we have that completely backwards in our society?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the world's getting busier and crazier, that it's kind of, that's how it's set. Like, you know, it does feel like it needs to be the other way around. Yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, when, you know, back in the day where, you know, your fight flight is basically for running away from a tiger, isn't it? You know, but nowadays it seems to be initiated just with a phone call that could be your boss saying something that, you know, that it really gets your systems going. So the more we slow down and show our systems, we're going to kind of retrain it. retrain our systems to be able to experience it and reset our normal. But yeah, you're right, it kind of has round the wrong way.
In your experience, if women dedicate or devote themselves even just to a few minutes a day, how quickly can they expect to experience themselves in a new way?
Look, I think it's like anything. It's a learned skill to be able to bring this into a routine daily. But you know, I think quite instantly, because there's a sense of, at the end of the day, when you've given yourself some time, like, oh, I feel really good because I've actually done something for me. And I tell you, there's a lot of women, and especially mums, they go to the bottom of the pile. I mean, I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and I'd always, there's part of me just wants to put her first, because that's what we do as mums. We kind of would do anything for our children. And if you haven't got kids, it may be for your partner or your husband or your parents. But yeah, I guess it's just a matter of by putting yourself first within a short space of time, I really do feel that you'll get the sense of maybe fulfillment and some happiness that you've done something for yourself. Yeah. So look, everyone's quite individual, but I would imagine that by doing it over a week and that, you'll start to notice that, yeah, I'm actually feeling good for doing something for me. It's just a small part of the puzzle, Lena. Like, stopping and doing something for yourself isn't magically going to go, oh, well, I'm going to wake up feeling amazing every morning, because that's not how it's going to work. I wake up feeling really crap some mornings, but, I'm really mindful, okay, what does my body need? Get up, hydrate my body. I've just slept. So, yeah, so I think with every individual, it's going to be a little bit different, but I think that sense of doing something for yourself is going to be instant.
For me, it's taken me a long time to be able to articulate and identify the benefits, I suppose, within myself. But what I noticed straight away was that I would get to the end of the day and I didn't have such a long list of regrets. I didn't have such, like, I wouldn't go back over my day and be like, oh, I was really reactive there. Oh, I was really impatient there. Oh, I acted in a way I don't like there. That started to fade away because I wasn't just, constantly in a state of like tension and friction. I was relieving that for myself throughout the day. And so
Yeah,
it meant that I wasn't having these like little outbursts at the people closest to me. And that
yeah,
that
nice.
was like an instant thing that I thought, oh, this is worth it because it's actually improving my relationships.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's what really made me lean into it. And also, I think another thing was, for me as a woman, redefining what it means to be loving, because I think I was raised to believe that love means that you sacrifice yourself for the people that you love. So I
Mm,
grew up, seeing my mum absolutely put herself at the bottom of the list, underneath our immediate family, underneath her parents, underneath, like, she was like well below, and she's a beautiful woman and so giving. But I also saw her suffer immensely
yeah,
because of that. And so I've had to redefine what it means to be a loving partner, a loving daughter, a loving mother, and understand that it means that I fill my own cup so that I don't make my own reactivity somebody else's problem. I take care of me so that I can just come re-enter the world, re-enter the relationship fully expressed as a light, and not just this like
yeah,
spewy, reactive, hypersensitive like being, which I think we can all do if we feel like we're just repressed and under the pump and about to burst,
yeah, absolutely. And for me, on a personal note, like from doing my self-care on a regular daily basis, is that I really noticed that I was a lot calmer in reactions to life in general. So when something would happen, I could stop and go, okay, I kind of could step back a lot easier from things. And reality is, life's going to throw us curveballs all the time. And I just feel that I don't get stressed by them as much because I have the ability to regulate my nervous system to stay a lot calmer. And I would say that's probably for me the biggest thing for doing things for myself. But I get what you say is, you know, being more loving, because what a great role model now for your son, because he's going to grow up going, wow, look at mum, she really, you know, nurtures herself in a way and looks after herself, and he's going to learn that, because our kids are like little sponges of how, you know, how what they learn. So yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
And I will say our kids are so resilient and they adapt to whatever we kind of create as a new normal in the household. Like I've got my little daily rituals and I'm fortunate enough we have a treadmill at home. And my son knows, like, mum goes on the treadmill every morning. That's my time to play with my
Yeah,
toys, probably ask for some TV and I'll get it. And he
yeah,
knows, you know, and he's kind of almost respectful of that half an hour that I have on the treadmill, because he also knows after that mum hops off the treadmill and is fully present. I'm there with him,
yeah,
you know? So it
yeah.
serves everybody in the long run, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think what I encourage women or anyone to do is think of self-care like brushing your teeth in the morning. You know, it's just part of what you do. You just get up. Well, you know, we brush, oh, hopefully you brush your teeth at night as well. But you know, if you didn't, imagine it. You know, imagine, you know, like how your teeth would feel, and you end up at the dentist with holes you know, to me, self-care is kind of like that, just nurturing and keeping ourselves looked after in the long run, you know, and long term is looking after our health as we get older as well. So I really like that analogy, is that just, you know, self-care is just like brushing your teeth.
And self-care is not just something we have to offer to ourselves because we, you know, feel like we're suffering in some way. It's like it's the opposite. You can give yourself full permission to just give yourself full self-care practices because you love yourself, not despite who you
Absolutely.
are, because of who you are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so, you know, nurturing to mind, body, and soul. So it's, yeah, I think that we need to kind of spread the word around and support. So that's probably another area, you know, is having that support is another great thing. So encouraging, you know, exactly that. Tell your kids, you know, this is my time. I'm going to be 20 minutes and I need to do this for me, or your husband or partner, or who it is, your family, get them involved. I mean, hopefully they'll just go, wow, you know, I want a bit of that as well. So the more you tell your family and your friends, the more support you have around, you know, how cool is that to have, you know, a friend kind of check in and say, oh, how's it going? Like, I just think that the more we talk and the more we involve people, the I guess the easier it can be as well. Yeah.
Throughout COVID here in Victoria, we were locked down for, you know, months and months, but you were allowed to go out for 1 hour of exercise within, you know, a certain distance from your home. And we're lucky we live near a national park. And my husband decided to just rekindle his love of mountain bike riding because he had the time to do it. And so,
Yeah.
you know, he was going a couple of times a week by himself and riding his mountain bike or whatever. And I felt this kind of like resentment building within me. And I couldn't understand why I was getting annoyed. And I heard myself saying, you know, if I was struggling with the house, which was a mess because we were all just living in it constantly, you're always out riding your bike, which was so ridiculous because it was
Yeah.
like
Awesome.
an hour a few times a week. But I realized I was kind of feeling a kind of just resentment and jealousy that he had something for himself very clearly that he could go and enjoy and do for him. And I was really struggling during COVID because all the things that I would usually do or use or leverage to, you know, make me feel good had been taken away from me. And so I realized it was really important for me to just get to know myself again and really sit with myself and ask, what do you need? What would fulfill you right now? So that I
Yeah.
didn't discredit or take away from the fact that he had that for himself, you know, how
Yeah.
unfair on him.
Yeah, yeah. But even voicing that to him, and you know, having those clear communications about him, probably for, you know, what was he getting out of the mountain biking? What did that give him? And it probably, you know, could have given him a real sense of just, you know, with the lockdown, just get the bit of freedom and that. And I think when we have a bit more understanding about, you know, our loved ones and why they're doing it, it kind of it helps with that too. Because I've, you know, if my husband's going out mountain bike, because he mountain bikes as well, I just know that him going out by himself, and you know, he works quite long hours, is that is his time, and it's, you know, he gets to the top of the mountain and he's got a little spot where he sits. Well, that's as good as his thinking time. So, you know, I really respect that, and I think that's so important for him. So I'm like, yeah, off you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it is important to voice and, you know, talk to your loved ones and, you know, see what they need, and, you know, give each other space in whatever form that is. Yeah.
No, my husband said very similar to what your husband was using that for. You know, he said, when I'm out in nature, it just makes me realize how small we are and how insignificant we are and our problems really are. And just, you know,
Yeah.
allowed him to see COVID and everything that was going on just from a different context. And so
Yeah.
he came home and he's just like the most down to earth, happy go lucky. And that's what I love about him. So there's no
Yeah.
way I would want to remove anything that allows him to become more of who he is. And so I think it's just why I'm bringing it up is I think for some of us, you know, if we don't have our own practices already, we're going to be maybe subconsciously a little bit resentful or jealous, or we won't understand why people are creating boundaries around their time and the practices that they take for themselves. And so rather than just kind of reacting and trying to make others stop doing what they're doing, we really need to double down on understanding who we are and what works for us so that we can give that to ourselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's so many tentacles and facets of this that we could go off in directions, couldn't we? But, you know, I think just coming back to, yeah, being respectful of yourself, being respectful of others around you, and gosh, you know, even encouraging loved ones to take some time out. And, you know, I think it's about finding your thing. You know, it's like in the fitness industry, I just say, you know, to clients, like, you know, what works for me doesn't work for you. And it's the same with self-care. Like, I know what works for me. I know the things I like to surround myself with. Like, you know, I'll burn a candle, smells are great. You know, growing my own little flowers outside of my backyard, just surrounding myself because I feel good things, you know, looking at photos of some fantastic memories, and just placing yourself back there, like, you know, that can just create such a great feeling for your body. And I guess that's what self-care is, eh? Like, so I've, you know, created a little bit of an online training video, free training video, and, you know, it just goes over 5 tips, and it's really basic stuff just to get you start to think about self-care for you. And the number one is, what is self-care? Because what self-care is for me might be quite different for you, Lena, you know, like, and to start thinking about that whole being responsible for our own health and well-being. You know, what are the things you love to do? Get creative. What are the things you've forgotten that you love to do? You know, from when you're a kid, it might be skipping, you know, it might be kicking a ball, you know, it could be anything. But, you know, getting clear, when you're clear on what things you love and make you really, your heart sing, feel good, I think it makes it a lot easier, because then you have a bit of a go-to list. And, you know, my go-to list, I've got some easy things like candles, nice scented flowers growing outside my therapy room, you know, photos. Like, if I'm feeling really down, I can just kind of really be present with those and almost go back to my, you know, my time, you know, wherever I was in that photo. So, you know, when I've got a bit more time, I can go out into nature or go to the ocean, or, you know, I've kind of got such a list of things to do. It just makes it a lot easier to, because I've reconnected with what works for me. So I encourage you, you know, what works for you. Sit down, take a moment, and be creative.
I
And it's
love
quite
that.
fun, because
I
you remember, yeah, it might be putting on music and just having a good sing, you know,
If
even
women wanted,
dance.
if women wanted to access your full training, how can they find that? I know you've got it online. Where is it?
Yeah, so if you go to www.yesmyselfcare.com, that will take you to a link that will then take you into my free training video. It will go over five easy tips to get you thinking and getting you started on, you know, your self-care, whether you're doing some at the moment or maybe you want to expand on it. And then there's also a link underneath that video that will take you into my private Facebook self-care group. That's just basically a bit of support. So it's a place where I will give little tips and ideas, and, you know, people can share things if they choose to, and really just wanting to support people in their transition of going maybe from nothing to doing something, or maybe if they're wanting to, you know, find a few more ideas, or, you know, I think a community, a really safe, fun community. I mean, it's great. I love everyone kind of coming together, like-minded people. So, you know, if that's something that you kind of feel that, yeah, that sounds really great, then yeah, you can go to that yesmyselfcare.com, and I'd love to, you know, I'd love to have you as part of the community, and, you know, working along, and, you know, coming and talking to you, Lena, has just been fantastic, because, you know, this is what it's all about. What, you know, we're here to, you know, help people feel good, and it's such, you know, that's why I do what I do. I just love connecting with new people, and it's really inspiring for me. I kind of get those warm fuzzies when, you know, you get someone. I'm sure
Me
you do too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely do. And we'll wrap it up now, but I just want to say thank you, because exactly what you're saying. I love being able to model the types of conversations that women can have with each other. It's so powerful to say, what are you doing for yourself? What works for you? You know, so we can all just
yeah.
learn from each other and support each other. And yeah, I just appreciate your time so much today,
Oh
Katrina.
no, thank you so much. I've loved coming on speaking to you. And yeah, and you know, I hope whoever's listening to this, you know, starts doing a little bit of self-care if you aren't already. You know, just find some time for you, because you are so worth it. Your whole being is worth it. And yeah, I'm really grateful to you, Lena, for letting me come on and chat with you.
Thank you very much. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.